Professor Rutgers, Professor Vogel, Professor Prado, Dr. Borchardt, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, it's a real pleasure for me to be here and to open this conference marking the 20th year anniversary of the Israeli-EU Science Cooperation. Now, I want to mention that 85% of the relationship between the European Union and the EU is consensual and in our mutual interest. Science cooperation being a very important component on that. Now, 85% means that there's 15% on which we don't agree. And I think you all know what it is. It's basically the Israeli-Palestinian issue, where we don't expect Israel to deliver a solution tomorrow. We know that it takes two to tango, but during the last 6-7 years, we have seen a systematic approach on part of the Israeli government to, in our view, undermine the possibility of a two-state solution. That's our problem. It's not the fact that the Israelis and Palestinians are not able to clinch a peace deal tomorrow. It's about the direction of the actions that are taken on the ground. This is what separates us, but I want to focus on the 85% that unites us. I want to make the assertion that there is no other country in the world that enjoys a more varied and more comprehensive relationship with the European Union. Our relationship with Israel spans free trade to the tune of some 30 billion euros a year and growing every year. We have a visa-free regime which allows for unhindered travel between the European continent and Israel. We have an open skies agreement that has been in force for about a couple of years. It has increased the volume of passengers by 1 million a year. It has been driving down airfares 25%. We have a science and technology cooperation dating back all the way to 1996, where Israel is tremendously successful, taking 1.6 shekels out of every shekel it has been putting in to the various framework programs, and most probably that will be the case with Horizon 2022. So why is it that we are experiencing these dismal figures of public perception that Dr. Borchardt was referring to before? Figures, ja. Doch. Kein Problem. Ja. Sie können mich nicht hören, oder?
The translation.
Okay. All right. So, why is it that we are experiencing these dismal figures? 70% of the people asked in the very large survey that was done by the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung. Stiftung. I'm sorry. Feel that the European support for a democratic and Jewish state is weak, that the European Union cannot be trusted as a mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In my opinion, two factors are at play here. First of all, a lack of sense of proportion. I'm afraid the 85% that's being delivered on a daily basis, and which, as I said before, is mutually beneficial and harmonious, is more and more being taken for granted in this country. Not that anyone should be grateful to anyone else for what we're doing, because as I said before, it's a win-win situation. But it's something you need to stop and reflect on every once in a while. So that's one factor. I think a misperception of the proportions involved here. The second thing is that I think we are up against a very, very strong and pervasive narrative from the right wing in this country, which is engaged in EU bashing almost on a daily basis in order to curry favors with their constituencies and build up this preconceived notion of a hostile Europe vis-à-vis Israel. And as Dr. Borchardt said, these are perceptions that we need to deal with. We are dealing with them on a day-to-day basis. But as I'm often telling the Israeli government here, I mean, we need their cooperation. We need them also to assist us in keeping a sense of proportion, in talking up our relationship instead of talking it down. So I just wanted to give my reflections on this particular issue. Now, today we're going to talk about the 85%, and I'm really pleased to do that. Our cooperation in research innovation is indeed one of very long standing, and as I'm sure you will all hear from our German colleagues, in fact began before the association of Israel to the EU framework programs. The cooperation is, as we like to say, the jewel in the crown of our relations with Israel, and it has continued to be that through the regular ups and downs. It has continued to be a very, very successful and mutually beneficial area of cooperation. As a matter of fact, we see our cooperation in science and research as the gold standard for how our cooperation in other sectors with Israel should look when, hopefully, we would be able to put the Israeli-Palestinian issue behind us. As you know, we have a couple of years ago put on the table a proposal for an unprecedented special partnership between the EU and Israel, which would in effect raise our cooperation across the sectors to the standard that we are currently experiencing when it comes to science and technology. Over the past 20 years, thousands of Israeli scientists have participated in the EU framework programs. But it's really an issue beyond numbers. The exposure for both of our academics and industry to cutting-edge research, the links to leading institutions, and to key actors in the private sector are invaluable contributions to both our research worlds and economies. Israel has been particularly successful in the prestigious European Research Grant Council grants on cutting-edge research. 4 Israeli research institutes are listed among the top host institutions for ERC grants. With a budget of close to 80 billion euro, Horizon 2020 is the biggest research program globally. We hope that Israel will be as successful in this program as it was in the previous framework program 7, which saw Israeli researchers participating in over 1,600 projects. In fact, Israeli researchers are already participating in over 400 Horizon 2020 projects, for which they will receive a total of 313 million euro. So, we are only a couple of years into Horizon 2020, and I think the Israeli record already augurs very well. I wish you a very successful conference today, and I personally look forward to a further 20 years or more EU-Israel scientific cooperation, and to increasing the level of cooperation in other sectors to that of this very important area of cooperation. I thank you very much for your attention.